Okay, so we are on section 5 of chapter 5, which is our last section for this testing period. Yay, we made it. There's only 10 questions in this one. I've worked them out once. I'm going to upload that with the ones I'm about to work out as well, so you can like compare, and hopefully I'll work them out the same way both times, but there's different ways to do math. I've decided I'm probably going to go ahead and download a review for chapter 5 as well. I'm going to have to make the copies off of either my math lab or use a hard copy test. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do, but I'll have more information about the test on that one, so be looking out for chapter or test 4 review. I'm probably going to label it that. I may break it into sections too, I'm not sure yet. But let's go ahead and get this last section knocked out. So let me share my document camera. Okay, so this first question is really simple. We have -2 is less than x, which is less than 4. What is the number that's between -2 and 4? So -3 is less than -2, so it's not that one. -2 is -2. We don't have equal signs, so it can't be that one. 6 is greater than 4, so 3 would be our answer. Okay, starting on these now. So we're going to use our zeros just like we had been doing previously. So we have x subtract 4 squared times x plus 8 is less than 0. So our zeros would be 4 and -8, because 4 subtract 4 would be 0, -8 plus 8 would be 0. Then we're going to take our zeros and we're going to put them, we're going to break it up into different intervals. So we'd start with -infinity, and then -infinity, my first 0 would be -8. Then I'd go from -8 to 4, and then 4 to infinity. Now then, the reason this problem is here at all is because I have to pick a number that's in each of these intervals. So I always pick numbers as well that I can multiply by easily. So -10. This one, since 0's in it, 0 is always one I go for, like regardless. And I like to stick to my 5s, 10s, 2s, 0s, and 1s. So then I'm going to take this value and I'm going to put it back into this inequality. I'm trying to figure out if it actually is less than 0. If not, then I can't use that. That interval will not satisfy the requirements. So I have -10 subtract 4 squared times -10 plus 8 is less than 0. So this would be -14 squared times -2. 14 squared would be 196. And it's times a negative number, so I'm going to quit there. A positive times a negative is a negative. A negative is less than 0, so this one would be true. Remember, we're not trying to find the exact numbers. We're just trying to see, is this true or is it not true? So I have 0 subtract 4 squared times 0 plus 8 is less than 0. This would be -4 squared times 8. Negative squared, so it would be 16 times 8. That's a positive number. A positive is not less than 0, so this one would be false. Okay, we're going to plug 5 in. 5 subtract 4 squared. 5 plus 8. I'll give myself more room next time I do this. So we'd have 1 squared times 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 is less than 0. Nope. So that one's false. So the only one that's true is going to be our answer. So true, our interval where this is true is going to be negative infinity to negative a. And that would be my answer that I would write here. Solve the inequality. So I'm going to draw a line through here. I'm going to go ahead and write it on this same paper so they'll all be together when y'all print them out or look at them. So let me write it down real quick. X cubed plus 3x squared is less than 0. All right, so the first thing we have to do is factor this out and find the zeros. So I can factor an x squared out of both of these. So I'd have x squared. So it'd be x plus 3 is less than 0. So then my zeros for these would be 0 and then negative 3. Because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Now then break this into intervals, and I'm going to make my intervals more spaced out so I have more room to work. So you have negative infinity, and the smaller one, negative 3. Then we have negative 3 to 0, and 0 to infinity. Now pick a number between each of these. So right here, I'm going to do negative 5. And it doesn't matter which ones you pick on these. Just be sure you pick something with the easiest like multiples that you know of. So this one will be a positive one for me. So I have negative 5, negative 1, and 1. I'm going to plug these in here. So negative 5 cubed plus 3 times negative 5 squared. So that would be negative 125 plus 3 times 25. So negative 125 plus 75 is less than 0. This one's bigger, it's negative, so this one would be true. So we have negative 1 cubed plus 3 times 1 squared is less than 0. So I'd have negative 1 plus 3 is less than 0, which would be 2 is less than 0, which is false. 1 cubed plus 3 times 1 squared is less than 0. So 1 plus 3, false. So my answer on this one would be, I'm going to box that one up there too. Negative infinity to negative 3, because that was the only one that was true. And I'm going to go ahead and write that over here. All right, we have x cubed subtract x squared subtract 90x is less than 0. So x cubed subtract x squared. So our goal on this is to factor it and find the zeros. So first thing I notice is there's an x with each term, so I can go ahead and factor out an x to get x squared subtract x subtract 90. Then factors of 90 that subtract to get 1 would be 10 and 9. So I have x subtract 10 because this is negative, x plus 9. Got little leads everywhere. So my zeros, this one would be just 0. This one would be 10. And this one would be negative 9. So then writing them in our intervals, we always start with negative infinity. Our smallest 0 is negative 9. Then we'd go negative 9 to the next smallest is 0. And then we'd go from 0 to 10. And then 10 to infinity. Then we pick a number in each of those intervals. So this one I'm going to use -10. Here I'm going to use -1. Here I'd use +1, and then here I'm going to use 20. So we have -10 cubed subtract -10 squared subtract 90 times -10. So a negative cubed, that would be -1000 subtract, since it's -10 is squared, it's going to turn into a +100, so it's going to be subtract 100. And negative times a negative here, plus 900. So we would have -1100 plus 900, which is less than 0. So this one is true, because this would have been -200. -200 is less than 0. I'm going to scoot it up a little bit. So we have -1 cubed subtract -1 squared subtract 90 times -1. So -1 subtract 1 plus 90. So this would have been 88 is less than 0, not true, so false. Then 1 cubed subtract 1 squared subtract 90 times 1. So we have 1 subtract 90, which would be -90 is less than 0, true. 20 cubed subtract 20 squared subtract 90 times 20. Why did I pick 20? 20 times 20 would be 400, times 20 would be 8,000. Subtract that 400, subtract 9 times 2 is 18. Right. Or is there another 0? There's another 0. So we'd have 7,600 subtract 1,800 less than 0. 7,600 is way bigger, so false. On this one, we have 2 that are true. So when we go to write this one, we'd have -infinity to -9. Make sure you can see union, and you have to use the union button. With 0 to 10. I'm going to copy this down onto our paper. So we have -infinity to -9 union 0 to 10. I'm going to go ahead and do number 5 and then start a different video so it's not way too long. So yeah, x to the 4th is greater than 121x squared. So when we go to solve this one, we want all of our terms on one side with a 0. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 121x squared. So we have x to the 4th subtract is greater than 0. Now then we're going to find those zeros, but we got to go ahead and factor some more. So let's take x squared out because there's an x squared with both terms. So I'd have x squared subtract 121. This is the difference of 2 squares, so that breaks down some more. So we're going to keep factoring. Right, now then our zeros. We have -11, 11, and 0. And to write it in intervals. So we'd have -infinity to the smallest one, -11. Then we'd have -11 to 0. Then we'd have 0 to 11 and 11 to infinity. Now our numbers in each of these, let's do negative 20, negative 1, 1, and 20. So if I had negative 20 to the fourth power, subtract 121, negative 20 squared. So let's see, 20 raised to the fourth power is 160,000. So 160,000 subtract 121 times 20 squared, 480,400. And is this greater than 0? True. I did not leave myself enough room to do this. Negative 1 to the fourth power, subtract 121 times negative 1 squared. So we'd have 1 subtract 121 is greater than 0, and that one would be false. Then 1 to the fourth power, subtract 121 times 1 squared would be 1 subtract 121 again, which would also be false. And then our last one would be 20 to the fourth power, subtract 121 times 20 squared, which would be that 160,000, subtract 48,400, which is going to be greater than 0 still, so that one is also true. So since we have two intervals on this one that are both the correct answer, we have to use that union sign, so negative infinity to negative 11, union with 11 to infinity. And let's write that down on the other paper real quick. Okay, let me stop this one so that we don't end up with the largest video ever happening.